Okay, hey my friend, it's your reading, turn for your reading. Sorry, it has taken a long time to get around to. Just haven't really had energy and just had other things going on. But yes, I have been thinking about it, working on it, looking at your chart. Thanks for the details, your horoscope details for me. So the reason I wanted your details for your chart was just to see what perfection year you're in this year. So you turned 41 in December that we just had, so this past December, which means that from December 2019 to December 2020 this year, you're in the 6th house perfection year. The ruler of your 6th house is, so you've got Taurus in your 6th house. The ruler of your 6th house is Venus, and she's over here in the 12th house, which means that this year your 12th house is really activated, and particularly Venus over there in the 12th house. So Venus, we're looking at basically you, the woman over in the 12th house, and I think that's pretty apt this year, given that the 12th house is all about being isolated, being contained, being restricted, sort of the ending phase, the ending period, isolation, the period in which you're given an opportunity to assess a few things, to contemplate your mental, your state of being, particularly mentally. And it's interesting for you because it's actually being activated by the 6th house, which is the house of well-being and day-to-day activities. So it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition that, sorry, that's my dog in the background. It's interesting that both the houses really that are activated for you this year relate to health and well-being and like our kind of day-to-day structures, our routines, but they can also relate to, traditionally they relate to slavery, being enslaved, being confined, being restricted in some way, like our activities being restricted in some way, which is very apt this year for a lot of people, but particularly for you this year. So this shutdown, this lockdown that we're going through this year, in terms of your individuality, it's quite apt, and it's really given you an opportunity, well, it's providing you an opportunity to use this isolation period to reflect on the past cycle of 12 years and to kind of decide, I guess, like to identify how that's impacted your mental health in particular, because the the northern horizon, we're looking at the psychological, the mental realm. In your chart in particular, it's interesting because you natally have Saturn sextile by house with your 12th house, and ordinarily Saturn is quite a restrictive influence. But in this case, I'm kind of really I'm not reading Saturn and this relationship with Saturn as a negative as such. I don't think he's really going to be acting malefically on, even though he is overcoming the planets in this house, because Saturn is at home. He's in joy in the 12th house, and it's actually the only house in which Saturn or a malefic, either of the malefics, it is tempered. His malefic nature is tempered. So I feel as though Saturn is actually aiding your Saturn in your chart is actually aiding what's going on in your 12th house, and also so whereas other people might find two planets in the 12th with Scorpio really disruptive, particularly because Scorpio is such a he's such an like a sign that's all about delving into things and unearthing uncomfortable truths and taboo topics. I feel as though for your chart, this is actually kind of a comfortable place for you to be. It's not really it's not really, for a lot of people it might be an uncomfortable thing to have to go through, but I don't feel as though that's the case for you. And I also feel like supporting it is the ruler of your 12th, which is Mars. He's essentially conjunct your ascendant in the first house, and I feel like anything kind of in the first house. I mean, we know that that's a house of basically the most important house in the chart, and you have huge stellium in there. I feel as though even though he's anti-CR, he can't see his house. I do feel as though this great placement for Mars being co-present with all these other planets in the first house is also supporting these planets in the 12th house. Especially added to that, we've got Venus can see his domicile as well, can see her domicile as well. So I think she's also supported in there. So whereas other people might have a really uncomfortable time doing this internal work in isolation, I feel as though it's actually quite a natural place for you to be, and it's not necessarily uncomfortable, especially also because in your chart you've got Jupiter up here in the 9th house in retrograde, and so in the 9th house retrograde Jupiter, it's kind of in Leo especially, it's kind of suggesting that you know, you're quite comfortable not being what's the word, you're quite comfortable with your own ideas and your own thoughts and your own kind of perspective and outlook on life. You're quite comfortable in that position. It's not really a stretch for you to be in this sort of moment of isolation. You're really good at navigating it. You're quite adept at working through it, and you have great sort of internal resources, and you really just kind of have this kind of sense of being comfortable with who you are. What is interesting also is that we've got you've got Uranus over here in the 12th house, which is also being activated sort of in conjunction with Venus at the moment, and our transiting Uranus is directly opposite over here in Taurus. Now I would imagine that during this period of isolation that's being activated for you this year in particular, you can well, you're being invited, like the window of opportunity is open for you to discover some quite to really kind of like discover some quite revelatory some revelatory information about yourself that could actually be quite can be quite game changing for you. Now the tension is going to be there about whether or not you're willing to kind of go with this and to open up with this, but I feel as though you are good at processing and working through things. You've got a lot of spirit in your first house as well, which is kind of confirming this to me. It's quite natural for you to be processing things mentally and to make sense of it. Do a lot of meaning making in your own kind of a lot of really personal meaning making. So this this Uranus opposition that's going on, for other people it could be really comfortable, but I just think that for you, something about you and your ability to you're kind of like very comfortable in your own mind and working through your own mind, and you know your own mind very well, and so I don't think this is going to be a stretch for you. It's just that it's being really activated this year, so it is going to be on the radar as such. Now what else did I want to talk about? I think that might be all. Oh, it could actually be because you've got Chiron over here. He's retrograde also, actually, in the 6th, which is the first, is where your is the initial house being activated. That's talking about doing some healing work this year. So if this if this period of isolation and this period of internal searching and revelatory experience and revelatory kind of ideas and is going on, I think it will actually really relate to your a little bit of a healing journey for you this year. So yeah, that's kind of feels as though that's what's on the horizon. I think that's all I really wanted to talk about with that, just to give me an idea of where you're at. So let's have a look at the overall energy for the cards this year for you at the moment. An understanding of the overall energy, some archetypal energy for this reading. You've actually got, it is a really interesting chart, not just because of that stellium, but I just think that your chart has a lot of, it just feels like where other people would struggle with some of these placements, you're actually quite adept. Okay, you've got the Tower, so the energy for you at the moment is all about addressing the foundations and kind of getting real about the foundations around which you've built something up. So just recognizing those foundations may be more fragile than you anticipated. So I would say that combined with the astrology for you personally this year, this could relate to this what are we doing? This kind of healing opportunity that you've got, perhaps recognizing that the healing that you had thought you had kind of gone through may be reactivated for you, and the healing that you had thought that you'd done to get to where you're at right now may be a little bit more illusory than you had thought, and you may have to go back over that this year because some of the kind of facade that you've built up around yourself in order to protect yourself may actually sort of start to show a few cracks this year under the pressure of this kind of isolation period, this internal searching that you've got going on at the moment. So let's have a little just look-see, and we'll do a layout. The layout that I'm going to do is basically a horoscope layout, so it's going to mirror the houses of the horoscope, which I know that you're familiar with, so this is good. And we'll start at the first house, we'll go around to the 12th, and we'll just have a look at what's going on in general, and then we can break it down month by month for the coming year. All right, let's get these shuffled a little bit. Might be an idea to just think back actually about what was going on for you when you were around 29, between the ages of 29 and 30, and think about what was going on for you at that time. Think about what was happening, what kind of things were really prominent for you. Okay, so we've got the 10 of Swords in the first house. Yeah, so definitely an opportunity for you right now to begin a new or to investigate a new way of thinking about something, to look at different perspectives, or to recognize that different perspectives around a situation or yourself in particular might begin to arise. Different ways of seeing, new ideas, that kind of thing coming up with you in particular, new ideas around you. Okay, the 4 of Pentacles in the second house, so nice stable foundations financially. I'm not really seeing any dramas there then at the moment. Good foundations. Also, in terms of like your income, your earning ability, that kind of thing, your assets and everything, but also in your body. I put body into the second house because it's our most important asset, and I see good foundations there. Investing in your body. Okay, we've also got the 8. Okay, we've got swords down here in the third house as well, the 8 of swords. Okay, so I was actually going to talk about the third house for you, because you, at the moment, we've got Saturn transiting down there. So Saturn down there kind of restricting our little journeys, restricting our communication a little bit for you down there in the third house in Aquarius. That transiting Saturn, he is about to go back into the second house, so you may experience some kind of like little limitations there as well, but overall you do have really good foundations and really good mental, it's really showing me that the 8 of swords down here, you've got really solid communication skills, really solid foundations there, and kind of you're quite expert at what you're doing down there in the third house. So let's just keep going and just kind of elaborate on this all. Hey, shit. Oh, okay. So we've got the world down here in the fourth house, all right? So the world in the fourth house, so we're looking at our family, particularly our parents down there in the fourth house, but we're also looking at our internal reality, the part of you that other people don't necessarily see or are aware of, the part of you that is and really what the world shows me down there is it's kind of confirming what I kind of feel from your astrology, is that you're a very well-rounded, sort of well-traveled in terms of like navigating your own internal reality. I think you've already done quite a lot of internal work on yourself, and that's giving you a really solid mental position from which to like your psyche is provided this really great sort of foundation for you to go out into the world from. And I think that that's what's providing you these solid communication skills, this solid this kind of really solid this solid way, or this really well-rounded, well-constructed way of perceiving. But having said that, it does look like, it is time for you maybe to change that up a little bit, because something about you and your self-perception, I would say, is about to kind of be agitated a little bit. And I think that's what's going on with this astrology. In the fifth house, you've got the Queen of Pentacles. So creatively, your creative output, I'd say that you're very adept at that. You're really, you've nurtured your career along quite nicely. You've been really patient with that. And that's really what's feeding back into the second house over here, these Pentacles. All right, in the sixth house, okay, so look, we've got the Fool in the sixth house, and that's the house that's been activated this year. So, yeah, definitely for you this year, the theme is about, I would say it has something to do with either, I'm going to say like some kind of past trauma, or some kind of self-nurturing that's going to be activated, like themes around this, perhaps triggers around this, or ideas around this that may be more, that may kind of be surfacing from your subconscious during this isolation period for you, this 12 months. So yeah, definitely in your day-to-day behaviors, your day-to-day activities, but your well-being, your health, your health and well-being is going to be kind of like just sort of like bubble up to the surface. There's going to be something about this period of isolation that's going to kind of bring this to the surface a little bit, and I think that's what's going to change these perspectives a bit and force you to kind of not necessarily question, but just explore the quite how supportive these foundations are that you've worked on to support yourself. In the 7th house, you've got the sun. So the 7th house, intimate relationships, is really just showing me that your partner is extremely supportive and nurturing for you, wants to help you during this period, is there for you to draw on, like from nourishment, is probably also somebody who will help shed light on this situation for you, like on this thing that you're working through, if that's necessary. So all in all, just your relationship there is really supportive and nurturing. Wants you to grow from this, wants you to develop from this, wants you to kind of like send out new shoots during this period. It actually feels like, that I think, who was it? Is it Maslow who talked about self-actualization and the potato? Like the potato always knew that it's going to be a potato. It's just going through the process of getting there. Was that Maslow? I feel like it might have been. But anyway, your partner is there to shine light and nutrients and support and to help you grow during your period of isolation and during this internal work that you've got going on. The 8th house, you've got the Hermit. Okay, so during this death and rebirth, it's time for you to retreat. Absolutely time for you to retreat, to do some internal work, to get in touch with your internal wisdom. I feel as though you have it already in abundance, this internal wisdom. You are I'm biased because I've had I know how you converse and I know a little bit about your thinking, and I do feel as though you have a great internal world that you can turn to support and nurture yourself. I do see this also down here with the world in the 4th house. It's quite interesting actually, because both of these houses can relate traditionally to death and rebirth, and you've got 2 like majors down here that show us that you're really just kind of capable of regenerating all the time, but in a way that's authentic to you, and it's like you're kind of been given this opportunity this year to grow more into your authenticity. It might just be that it's does feel as though this healing, still there's some kind of healing that's been triggered from this year. 10th house, you've got the 7 of Wands. Okay, so 10th house. Oh, the 9th house, you've got the 7 of Wands. So yeah, some kind of successful activity in your expansion. Successful activity. Let's have a little look in the 9th house. Just thinking. The 9th, we're talking about, long distance travel. We're talking about travel of the mind, pushing our borders, opening up our horizons. I just feel as though if you can commit to this process at the moment, it's going to give you a sense of that your energy is being well used or well directed. just have to think about that one a little bit. He is opposite the third over here, which is where we've got the Eight of Swords. Communication, travel, and a periodic kind of short, like little snippets of communication versus like kind of swathes of information coming in. Just let me think. What is this? Swords. Oh, okay. The 10th, we've got the Six of Pentacles. So persevering outwardly. I just feel as though for you, like kind of during this period of isolation, like global isolation kind of thing, you've got your own little kind of internal isolation going on because it's kind of triggering you to do some processing, which is also like triggered by the planets this year for you. And you know, work and everything's kind of just going on business as usual for you, whereas other people, there's been quite a kind of a bit of an upheaval. For you, I think the transition into this has been not quite as financially stressful as for other people, and I think that's kind of not a concern for you at the moment. It does just look like, you know, you're just kind of persevering with what you're doing in the world, in terms of how you make your money and that kind of thing. I think it's really more about, for you, this internal journey that you're going on. And it's just like, if you can commit to this journey, it will like kind of bring you to a different energetic level. And it's going to have a knock-on effect, I think, in your ability to communicate, and what you're communicating about and how you communicate, which I think relates also particularly with your siblings. I don't know if you've got siblings or like childhood friends, that kind of thing. It could actually kind of touch on that. It could, this kind of internal expansion that you've got going on. It's like you're going on an internal journey. You don't really need to be going on these big journeys like at the moment. This internal journey in changing up your energy, kind of like changing the frequency of your energy almost. It's going to have this knock-on effect in the way that you communicate with people who are close to you and who have been close to you for a long time, like from childhood, your siblings or your cousins, that kind of thing, but also like childhood friends. And it's going to actually help you to be more more rounded or something about that. What is that? What is that? I don't want to get stuck there. I'm just going to keep going and see what that's about later. Oh yeah, sorry. Really, the Fool over here in the 6 is kind of what's got my eye, just because it corresponds so fully with your astrology and your perfection this year. It's like, you know, the Fool is probably my favorite card because it's just all the potentialities of what you can actually experience. There's no kind of there's no what's editing. There's no censoring the Fool. The Fool is just it's like that childish kind of naivety that anything is possible, and I think that's really the energy for you this year. If you kind of commit to whatever this kind of like internal processing is, it's really setting you up for another stage. Okay, we've got the in the 11th house, we've got the Knave of Swords. So your friends, your co-workers, your colleagues, the way that you communicate, the way that you collaborate could be quite enlivened at the moment, especially around new ideas, new opportunities to collaborate with people, going down potentially a new avenue, introducing a new because you've actually traditionally in what you do creatively been quite you know, you've kind of actually attained a level of kind of perfection in something that you do on a creative level, so you're actually about, can I have the charger? Sorry, I just need to plug my phone into the charger. You're actually about to, it feels like there's someone on your horizon now. I'm just moving all of this backwards, hang on, because I need to plug my phone in. There's a person on your horizon. It could be somebody who you work with, it could be a friend of yours, potentially an air sign, somebody who's a little bit younger than you, obviously, all the traditional associations with the swords, who's in your life at the moment, who's going to kind of give you a new opportunity to, I can't reach, hang on. Give you a new opportunity to collaborate on an idea or some kind of endeavor, which could be quite exciting, could change things up for you a little bit, and actually could bring you out of this period. Hang on. Is it plugged? Is it turned on? Actually could bring you out of this period of internal work. So it could be somebody who actually, yeah, it feels as though this opportunity that's around you to collaborate. Okay, I've got this opportunity to collaborate with this person could just be like a nice little kind of interlude for you to kind of get out of your head a little bit while this is all going on for you. They actually could give you, it feels like this person could actually kind of inspire you to, yeah, just really inspire you to consider these different perspectives, or these different ways of looking at things that might be important for you at this stage, when you're kind of like looking at the foundations that you've established, and how potentially they may or may not support you in all aspects of your life. And so, yeah, if you can recognize who this person is or what this opportunity is, they can actually support you right now to, and if you nurture this relationship with this person, it feels as though they can actually support you to actually reinvest in your creativity and to come up with new things that could be quite satisfying. And just this kind of like nice, it feels just like a nice kind of different pathway for your thoughts and your focus, just while all this other stuff's going on in the background. And okay, and then in the 12th house, yeah, hey, you've got the 10 of wands. So yes, the 10 of wands in the 12th house, definitely time for new energy, definitely time for he's here opposite the Fool. So we've got the 6th house and the 12th house both activated for you this year at the moment. You've got in your natal chart, you've got Venus and Uranus over here in Scorpio, and you've got Chiron down here in the 6th. So we're really looking at, for you this year, the ending of one kind of energetic pathway, working on some kind of healing journey for you this year. It could be really unexpected things could really arise in your work on this year for you, in this period of internal searching. Very unusual things could turn up for you this year. Definitely to do with ideas, your psyche, your mentality, your emotional well-being. Particularly, it's more of like a mental plane that's going on. It will affect your physical plane because it's you know, you're kind of balancing both sides of both parts of the horizon, both equators. But yeah, definitely time for you for a new cycle to begin. Really think back to what was going on for you when you were 29. It's going to give you a clue about what this could entail. And I would feel as though whatever happened to you after you were 29, when you began to build up the foundations, these foundations, after 29, that kind of gave you this footing that you have, that's what you're going to be exploring, like seeing if there are any cracks in that facade, any cracks in those foundations for you. And that's what you're going to be exploring in terms of like doing your internal work, and also like these new kind of new opportunities that come out of this. Let's have a look at strengths. Oh, strengths. Oh, okay, strengths. Okay, yep, so you've got the 2 of Pentacles. So you've got options. You've always got options around you, particularly options to balance what's going on for you, which is really nice. I think that it's the support that you've got around you from your partner is essential, and I think that's really what they're kind of your partner is providing you this. It does feel like your partner who's actually providing you this support, this stability, these helping you to balance out. They're kind of like the person that you're, and also this person who's up here, who's this friend or colleague at the moment. They're the people that are helping you to balance everything that if you let them in, if you trust them with all this kind of internal stuff that you're building up on, and that you're looking at, investigating, they're just going to help you balance it out. So when the work is getting really hard, it does feel like shadow work. When the work is getting really hard or overwhelming, they're the person that you can turn to just kind of bring you back to like more of the physical plane, out of that mental plane. Strengths. Let's have a look at our obstacles at the moment. obstacles is the Knave of Pentacles. All right, so just be aware that there could be literally somebody in your life who is a young earth sign who's sort of causing you a little bit of a headache while you're trying to work around this, kind of getting in your face a bit. It would actually just be could actually feel like you have a few what do we got? Just looking at these pentacles, both the pentacles, it might feel like you've got too many options to choose from at the moment, that may actually be kind of clouding this internal work that you want to focus on. Or it may actually just be, it feels more like a material thing, but it may just be that the material world is kind of like dulling your ability to kind of do this psychological work or this spiritual work for you at the moment. The options in the material world might be too tempting, like it may be too tempting to just kind of like do more mundane things because it's more comfortable and it's less confronting. But having the Tower card as your energy at the moment, like it's this change and this work is going to happen whether or not you're engaged with it. So just try and stay engaged in it and use those resources, like use your partner and use that other person who's around to help you to do the work. Opportunities. Oi. All right, the Seven of Cups. Yeah, opportunities to really succeed in letting go in something from the past here. Letting go, forgiving the past, something in the past that you need to forgive and let go of. You've really got an opportunity to do this year with this work, this shadow work. Whatever this thing is from the past that's really influenced your emotional stability, it's really influenced your passions, the things that concern you and kind of consume you. You've got an opportunity to recognize that this year and to let go of it in some way, to forgive it especially, and to let go of it and to move away from that. Okay, let's do the month by month breakdown. We're in the middle of April, so let's start in May. All right, May, you've got the moon. All right, so some shadow work coming up definitely by May. By next month, it's going to be kind of heightened for you by next month. So yeah, just doing your shadow work here, but also learning about just getting in touch with your moods, like your ebbs and flows. It's just doing that reflective work, your shadow work, getting in touch with those ebbs and flows, and really kind of like identifying what it is that's down there in the subconscious that you're not really truly aware of. I mean, it goes deeper. You could have done years of internal work, but there's always, trust me, man, there is always something down there that you just are not aware of. Okay, so by May, I feel as though that is what's going to become a little bit more prominent for you. So just go with that. Look at the Hermit, look at the Fool, look at the World. It's going to shift things up for you by May. Feels like just like being quite triggered. Something is really triggering you at the moment, actually. So by May, you've got an opportunity to explore that and investigate that. And work with it, okay? Work with the moon, work with the moods, recognize the moods, let them come and go. Don't identify with them. Don't identify who you are with how you're feeling. They're two different things, okay? So just remember that as the moon comes to the fore in May, may be a good idea actually to do some practical moon work in May. Oh, lordy, lordy. Okay, June. Let's have a look at June. June. Oh, shit. Look at that for June. Okay, the Empress. So by June, nice people are gonna, the people around you, particularly at work, I think, it's down here in the second house. People are gonna just recognize you for the, for who you are, for the woman that you are, and the work that you're doing in a man's world as such. The things that you've acquired, the world that you've built up for yourself in a practical sense. You know, when you're doing this shadow work, perhaps just remember that you have perhaps consider what it is that you've, like the reality that you've built up for yourself against all the odds. I would say I always look at the Empress as somebody who's succeeded in a world despite everything that's been thrown at her. She's starting off, you know, as a woman in a man's world kind of thing, and she's acquired respect. She's acquired this position of people kind of admire and look up to her because she's worked really hard for it, but also she's used parts of herself that are intrinsic to her nature. Okay, so in June, just kind of reflect on what it is particularly about you that's enabled you to get where you are despite all the odds. Okay, July. What do we got for July? Okay, definitely you've got the Empress. The Empress down in, the Priestess down in July. So yeah, again, think about what you've achieved, how far you've come, especially I'm going to be talking about here intuition, and you know, people always say that about the High Priestess, but she is down here in the third house, which is the house of the goddess. It's the house of the moon, and it's the house of communication. So I feel like that's what we were talking about here. Whatever is going on for you this year may actually kind of invite you to do some more to communicate with people from your past in particular who have in some way kind of affected your journey that you're on right now, and to just kind of be really real about things with them. I think to be really to if you have intuitive feelings about these people, just trust those feelings while you're doing this work, especially if you have kind of concerns or issues with those people, or issues about the way that they communicate with you, or that you talk to them, or kind of how this all transpires, your relationships with these people from your childhood. Yeah, you're going to really be invited to kind of explore that, definitely by July. August. Let's look at August. Also, of course, it's an opportunity for you to, again, be working intuitively with the universe, with the goddess, with the moon, during this period, during this kind of isolation period, this period of getting ready to move into like the next phase of your karmic cycle, which is really what this feels like, because it's 6th house, 12th house axis, and it's all about well-being and your Chiron. August. We've got the 4 and okay, so we've got the 4 of Wands. So it feels like by August, once you've done some of this work here back in the next few months, by August you're going to feel a little bit more energetically stabilized, which is nice, probably from doing all this work. And then it's going to change up what's going on for you physically, which is also cool. So working on this energy is going to provide you with probably a more like a new platform that's going to support some kind of physical change for you, some kind of yeah, certainly some kind of physical change for you by August. But it's going to be grounded in this new energy that you're working on, that's available to you if you choose to work on it. September. Hey. September, we've got the 7 of Swords. All right, so by September, there's an opportunity for you to... okay, this mindset, if you can get this mindset changed up, like do this internal work, it's going to have a knock, you know, the energy is going to change for you. And that's going to kind of like, I want you to, if you commit to this, basically kind of persevere with this mindset, this way of thinking around this. It's going to affect what you put out into the world. It's going to affect what you produce, particularly like your thought forms, your changing thought forms, and how that impacts the rest of, you know, the world around you. I've been contemplating or kind of meditating on the last few days about that idea that we teach people how to treat us by the way that we act. You know, what we, you know, if you're aware of how people are responding to you, you know, quite likely it's because of what you're also putting out into the world, you know. So if you're kind of like doing this internal work over the next few months this year, I think the opportunity is there for you to succeed in like changing how other people are kind of responding to you, and to you, and then you can use that reflection, like how they're responding to you, and you could look at that in this person that's up here, you know, maybe like look at how they're kind of like, you know, gauge how you're going in the work that you're doing based on the responses of these people, your colleagues especially, and your friends. So by, what was that, August, May, June, July, no, May, June, July, or September, you may be able to kind of just focus on that a little bit, just see how other people are responding to you, and it's kind of going to reflect to you that the work that you're doing is being genuine. People are responding to you in the way that you might hope, and that's going to kind of validate the work that you're doing. October. Hey, I love it when these things align. You've got Death in October. So we've got basically on top of the Fool here in the 6th house, which is activated for you this year. You've got new beginnings, a new journey, stepping out into the unknown, fearing the going out into the abyss without any fear, hesitation, and it's supported by the Death card, which is saying that really this is happening for you no matter what. You are leveling up in some way. There is some kind of fundamental change that's happening for you, all around your health and well-being, all around some kind of trauma. I feel like there's some kind of childhood trauma for you. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do feel as though there's some kind of childhood trauma, and I do feel as though the work that you're doing this year is directly related to that, and this year is an opportunity for you to change that, and you can change it purposefully. It's an opportunity for you to change it purposefully. November. Oh shit. November. 4 of Swords. Okay, so that's nice. By November, up here in the 7th house, on top of your partner, you've reached doing all this work. You're going to get, reach some kind of just nice emotional, sort of psychological stability here. It's a little time for you to take a breather, I think, and to get set for the following months. But yeah, it's just a time out for you. because it's heavy work that you're doing. You've got all these major cards, all this archetypal kind of stuff is going on for you. You've got two really potent houses that aren't necessarily pleasant houses, like the 6th and the 12th are two of the least auspicious houses. I do think that you are completely capable of navigating this work successfully. But don't forget to take time out to just breathe, yeah? Take time out from that work. Actually, if you, yeah, sorry. So we've got the Wheel of Fortune up here on top of the Hermit in the 9th house. May, June, July, August, October, November. By December. Okay, so by December things are, oh, well, that's nice. That's when your birthday is. So by December, you've gone through this progress. And then that's really exciting, because then in December you move into the 1st house, which is, what have you got? It's Sagittarius for you. So the 1st house, perfection. So that's going to be, where have you got Jupiter? In the 9th house. That's cool. Sorry, that's the 8th there. So you've got Jupiter in the 9th, which is up here, retrograde. So by next year, by December this year, you've got the Wheel of Fortune. So things are going to change. Things are going to be looking as though this cycle, like this work that you've done, is coming to an end. It's going to feel like, yeah, I've been through the ringer. It's been hard. It's been a process. I've sort of like followed my path. I've lit my own path. I've decided to address this, and yeah, fortune's going to be smiling on you, ready to move into your next perfection, which is going to be all about expanding your horizons in kind of more in an educational, more formal way. Yeah, but that'll be next year. January next year, you've got the Knave of Cups. So January next year, just an opportunity to, you may have a younger water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, coming in to offer you an opportunity. This could actually be an opportunity that's related to learning, education. Could actually be an opportunity for you to travel, long distance travel, or to have some kind of like meaningful relationship with somebody from overseas, particularly because it's cups that we're looking at up there. Okay, that's the second time the tower's popped out. So definitely tower energy around you. If you want to have anything meaningful come out of the next year, commit to the work, or do it purposefully. Do it with intent, rather than it just kind of like happening at you and being destructive. Yeah, so January next year, nice, a new pathway, basically, you may actually get some kind of correspondence as well, that's offering you some kind of new opportunity to travel, do some long distance travel finally, which could correlate to what's going on actually at the moment. But it's going to be something that kind of inspires your passions again, gets you kind of motivated, feeling passionate about something. Also related to, really feels like letting go of the past. You may actually decide to move by January next year. Okay, February. February. Oh, February. Yeah, 5. Yeah, there could be a move for you or something next year. You're changing your energy up there a little bit again, and people are going to notice it. It's going to be quite apparent, whatever's going on for you. It's going to be a shift in how you come across to people, and how people react to you. Again, feeding into that kind of cycle of like what you put out and how that inspires responses to you. Yeah. Could really just be some kind of travel opportunity to do with work, maybe, actually. And March next year. Oh, March. First Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, you could be offered a new job next year. You've got the Ace of Pentacles over there in the house of your, in 11th. So, networking, social things. New social opportunities beginning for you. This could be to do with some kind of move. New social opportunities arising for you. Perhaps to do with work, I feel. Even if it's like not moving a long distance, some kind of shift in what you're already doing, to introduce you to new people and new opportunities for new collaborations, to begin some kind of new endeavor. Feels like in your business, in your work, in your career, and it's going to be supported actually by what you've been doing within yourself internally, because it's going to definitely has something to do with like this kind of this feedback loop between how you communicate to people and how they feed back into that, and then how you use that creatively. And April next year. April next year, you've got Strength and you've got the Two of Batons. So by April next year, you're going to be learning all about like tempering your, using your authority compassionately, using your authority with wisdom, using your power in a situation, or your power over people, in a really meaningful way, in a way that's kind of like probably less explosive than you're used to, and it's going to actually give you these new opportunities, I think, to work with people. Yeah. It feels like, you know, if we look at the Temperance card, and how the Temperance card is all about like going through these kind of like what do they call it, like what's the word, character building, like all these shitty things that we go through in order to build up our character. Kind of feels like that's a little bit what this process is for you at the moment as well. Not saying that your character is lacking, but that this process is kind of like tempering you into kind of like a less reactive kind of, less defensive almost, I want to say, like a less defensive position, and a more open kind of position, particularly with other people. Can feel like get them before they get me, that kind of thing, a little bit. Anyway, Strengths again. Yep. Okay, so the 7 Pentacles, definitely Pentacles, Strengths both times. Just, you know, you've got secure, solid foundations to work from here, all right? You've already done a great deal of work. You've built yourself in the material world, you've built yourself a good foundation to work from. There's nothing to worry about there, and you're successful there. It's supporting you to do all this internal work. Obstacles. And you are strong. You're just strong. You know, not, you're strong in your, what's that word? Your constitution. You're strong constitutionally. It feels like you're concerned about that, but constitutionally you are actually stronger than you think. Yeah. All right. Obstacles. The past. You just need to let go of something from your past that's kind of causing you to be a little bit hesitant to explore your deep emotional reality, the deep emotions. Opportunities. Opportunities. Oh, there we go. Hey, nice. You've got the Hierophant. So, opportunity for you to be a guide for other people, to set an example for other people, or to actually draw on somebody else's, like to kind of like, if there's somebody like a guru type sort of situation. But I feel actually more that this is an opportunity for you to set an example for other people, particularly the people that you have like more kind of day-to-day interactions with. I feel this is quite a personal thing that's going on for you this year, not really to do with your career as such, other than like people in that kind of realm can give you some kind of like instant sort of feedback about that can actually feed into the things that perhaps you need to explore within your subconscious. But an opportunity for you to guide other people once this process is finished, or to kind of set the example of what this process can look like for other people. Really just an opportunity for you to be it actually really feels like an opportunity for you to kind of be more content within yourself, to find greater just kind of greater wisdom, just by letting a few things go and by confronting a few things within yourself that perhaps you aren't comfortable confronting. Can be a tendency for Sagittarians to be quite dogmatic, particularly about their beliefs, because Sagittarians are so unique. You have such a lot of planets in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is your ascendant. So it really is you. That energy really is you. I think the opportunity for you during this process this year is to temper that a little, and to really just explore what things about that are like protective mechanisms, and what things about that are useful mechanisms to help you connect with other people rather than push other people away. All right, I think that's it. Sweet. Namaste. Sorry this took so long, but I was always going to get there. And chat soon. Bye.